I want you to picture Arlington National Cemetery on a sweltering July afternoon. The sun bounced off the marble paths, making them almost blinding. Tourists meandered slowly, camera shutters clicking, children whispering to parents, the usual murmurs muted by an unspoken reverence. This was hallowed ground! Every step felt heavy, as if the very earth remembered the soldiers who had fallen. Among the monuments and tombstones stood a tomb guard, impeccably dressed in full uniform. His shoes reflected sunlight like liquid silver. His rifle was polished until it shone like glass. His movements were precise, ritualistic, almost hypnotic. 21 steps, the heel clicks, the pauses at each end. Each motion was a testament to discipline, dedication, and the centuries-old tradition of honoring the unknown soldier. Most people watched quietly, some whispered questions to their companions, but all eyes were on him. All eyes except one. Leaning against the railing like he owned the place was a man whose presence made the air seem charged. Broad shoulders, arms sculpted by years of MMA training, veins snaking across his forearms, tattoos curling around his biceps like battle scars. He wasn't just here to see history, he was here to dominate it. The guard, as usual, didn't notice him. Or perhaps he did, but it didn't matter. His focus was elsewhere. Discipline demanded it. Silence commanded it. But the fighter was restless, bored. He smirked and spat a small fragment of gum out of the corner of his mouth. Then he laughed aloud, brash sound that echoed across the plaza. Heads turned. A few tourists looked uncomfortable. "Man," he said, flexing and letting the sun glint off his muscles. "Look at this guy march back and forth like some kind of robot. You call that tough? I could knock him out in 10 seconds!" A ripple of laughter, uneasy and nervous, passed through the younger crowd. Older visitors frowned. Some moved away. The god paused, rifle angled perfectly against his shoulder, eyes forward, jaw locked. "It is requested that all visitors maintain an atmosphere of silence and respect," he said. Every syllable deliberate, measured, heavy with authority. The fighter's grin widened. "Oh, scary voice, robot man. That's supposed to intimidate me. I'm a fighter. I break guys like you in the cage." He bounced lightly on his heels, shadowboxing in the air. "You wouldn't last a round." The guard's jaw didn't move. He didn't blink. His posture remained perfect, unyielding. There was no anger, no fear, just the calm, terrifying precision of someone who had been trained to be unshakable. The fighter, undeterred, leaned closer to the rope separating the sacred grounds from the public, cupping his hands around his mouth. "Hey!" I said. "You think all that marching makes you tough? Step over here! Let's see what you got!" The silence in the plaza was deafening. Tourists froze mid-step. A young boy clutched his mother's hand. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. The guard pivoted, rifle shifting with fluidity, and stopped less than 3 feet away from the fighter. His voice was calm, low, but it carried a weight that seemed to press against the fighter's chest. Strength is not measured in fists or victories in the cage. It is measured in discipline, in honor, in standing watch, so others may live freely. Your bravado is meaningless here. For a brief moment, the fighter's smirk faltered. He recovered quickly, shoving his chest forward. "Sounds like a bedtime story. You're just another guy playing dress-up. I could break your nose," without thinking twice. The guard didn't move. His boots clicked in measured rhythm. He inhaled slowly, and then he stepped back. Not aggressively, not theatrically, but with lethal precision. He shifted into a defensive stance, not to attack, but to demonstrate control. The crowd tensed. Phones were raised. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. "You are on sacred ground," the guard said. "Step past that rope again, and I will remove you. Do not test me." Ego screamed louder than caution. The fighter's laughter bounced across the plaza. "I'm not afraid of you, man. Watch this." He stepped over the rope, as if daring fate itself. The response was instantaneous. In a blur of movement, the guard executed a controlled maneuver, something invisible to most eyes until it had happened. The fighter hit the ground, flat on his back, arm pinned, The guard's rifle angled across his chest. The plaza went silent. Gasps echoed. Phones recorded every second. You have disrespected every man and woman who gave their lives for this country, the guard said. Voice low, lethal. You will stand up. You will leave. And you will not return. For the first time in his life, the MMA fighter wasn't in control. He squirmed, flushed with anger and embarrassment. He muttered under his breath, possibly an apology, possibly a curse, and staggered back past the rope. His swagger was gone. His pride had been humbled in seconds. The guard returned to his post, rifle shifting smoothly, boots clicking the same precise pattern as before. He did not gloat. He did not celebrate. The ritual resumed as if nothing had happened, but the lesson was carved into the air, visible to every eye that had watched. This wasn't about fighting. This wasn't about proving strength in a cage. True power, the guard had shown, comes from discipline, honor, and unwavering dedication. Muscles, fame, and bravado meant nothing in the face of duty. The fighter would remember this day. Those who knew him said he stopped trash-talking so much, trained with more humility, and sometimes, before entering the cage, would pause, eyes closed, remembering the tomb guard's calm, unshakable presence. He had learned that some battles, the most important ones, are fought, not with fists, but with integrity. The crowd slowly dispersed, whispering among themselves. Some tourists, inspired, spoke to their children about respect, about courage, about the men and women who had given their lives. A few young boys and girls stared at the guard with wide eyes, understanding instinctively that this man was the embodiment of something greater than strength, a living symbol of honor. Hours passed. The guard continued his watch, boots clicking, rifle shifting, steps measured. There was no fatigue in his movements, no distraction. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, and he bore it effortlessly. Later, as the sun dipped behind the trees, casting long shadows over the tomb, the fighter was nowhere to be seen. But the story of that day spread quickly through local gyms, fight circles, and social media. It became a tale of humility, of a man humbled by discipline and honor, by someone who understood that strength without respect is meaningless. And for those who witnessed it firsthand, the lesson was even more profound. The tomb guard had shown them, silently and without flair, that some fights are not meant to be won with fists, but with unwavering principles. The MMA fighter's arrogance had collided with a force far stronger than any punch or discipline and respect. By the end of the day, Arlington returned to its quiet reverence. Tourists moved softly along the paths. Children asked questions in hushed tones. And the tomb guard, the lone figure standing vigilant, remained as he always had, stoic, unshakable, a sentinel for those who could never speak for themselves. Some say that even champions, men who have conquered hundreds of opponents in the cage, carry that day with them. They carry it as a reminder that arrogance can crumble in an instant. That real power lies not in dominance, but in honor. Not in noise, but in stillness. Not in strength alone, but in the courage to stand, watch for what matters most. And so, the tomb guard continued his eternal march. Boots clicking, rifle in hand, 21 steps forward. Pause! Turn! 21 steps back. He did not seek fame. He did not seek recognition. He did not seek revenge. He sought only to honor those who had given everything. Because at the tomb of the unknown soldier, every movement, every step, every pause carries the weight of history. And for those who dared to test it, like the MMA fighter, the lesson was unforgettable. True strength is silent. True strength is discipline. True strength never needs to prove itself, it simply is.